Hello, my name is Ian and this is Thinking Out Loud. I have a couple of days off work and I've been sitting around daydreaming most of the morning. I was just thinking about you. Come on, let me tell you what I thought. Today I'm thinking about thinking. Well, to be more precise, I'm thinking about daydreaming. And I dare say if Hillary catches me, she may say, he's finally lost it. And add, oh, and the grass needs cutting. But it's raining outside, so I'm fairly safe. But seriously, I was actually thinking about you. That seems a bit weird. Here I am, not knowing who's watching, and yet I say I'm thinking about you. I was imagining who might be watching, thinking of some of the people I know who are taking a look to what's he up to now, and others who've stumbled onto this video by accident and haven't figured out how to click next yet. It's right down there. And maybe a few regular viewers who eagerly await the next video to show up. Oh, and just to answer the common questions on that, for right now the videos should show up on Fridays. I have an erratic schedule, so I'm sure I'll mess it up sooner or later, but the plan is to release a new video each week, sometime on Friday, in time for the weekend. We'll see how that goes. Now, daydreaming. Daydreaming and prayer and meditation aren't always the same, but perhaps they can be. Let's look and see how. Today I'm looking in the book of Psalms, and Psalm 1 starts out with another of those things that sounds just like my mum would have said to me. Don't you go hanging around with those people, they'll get you into trouble. Or as the psalmist describes them, those that don't hang around and take the advice of the wicked. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers. But they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. They are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do. The writer describes trees planted along a riverbank. Come on, let's go and have a look. It's not a great day to be out here taking pictures, but these trees are just like the ones described in Psalm 1. They don't do much, they stand around admiring the view and enjoying the breeze, and today the rain, I suppose. You know, this is the second video in a row where I've described trees doing something. I may need to watch my theology. But they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. While the trees give the appearance of just standing around doing nothing, down here the roots are deep into the ground and out into the waterlogged riverbed. Well, in this case it's a lake. But there they're constantly sucking up nutrient-rich water, feeding and growing, and that's what they're doing. Down there is as much tree as all the branches up there, and those roots, they're busy. That's what meditating day and night means. Being in the right place with right thought roots stuck into the right place, just sucking up that lovely fresh water. So while writing this script, I wondered how much water does a tree actually drink in a week? And so I checked. And checked again, because it can't be that much. But it was. There's a little formula. And it's fine if you zone out for a few seconds while I do the math. A tree drinks 10 gallons a week for every inch of its trunk's diameter. So to find out how much the tree drinks, first we have to find out the diameter of the tree. And to do that, I'll use a formula. The diameter, d, equals circumference divided by pi. Now let's measure the circumference. The easy thing to do would be to wait for a sunny day and measure the width of the shadow, but today my sneaky shortcut won't work because there's no shadow. It's raining. My neighbours must wonder what I'm doing out here. looks like I'm hugging a tree, doesn't it? Now, if I were in England, we'd be measuring in centimetres and litres, but since this is an American tree, we'll be using inches and gallons. But to make it easy for everyone, I'll just convert the final answer into buckets, because we all know what a bucket looks like. Okay, so that's a 75-inch circumference divided by pi gives 23.9 inches diameter. So every week, 239 gallons, that's 48 buckets of water a week for this one tree. These trees must never stop drinking. It turns out by very nature, trees do something all the time, and they do it well. They drink. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 17 says, never stop praying. It's one of the shortest verses in the Bible at just 3 words. And as a child, I knew this verse and wondered, well, how are you supposed to do that? Do you walk around with your hands together, eyes closed and head bowed, bumping into things all day? Well, no, of course not. So what does it mean then? And I think the idea is much easier for those of us who are daydreamers. If you ever look at me and wonder if anyone's home, well, there might not be. I'm quite capable of zoning out too, but it's more likely I'm thinking about something in particular. I may be solving a maths problem or trying to work out how a particular machine works or planning the next video script for thinking out loud. But for me, pray without ceasing or never stop praying is very relevant to that too. I'm intentional when I think or daydream. I don't let my mind wander too far. Well, not often anyway. Of course I chase those mental rabbits and see where they take me, but I do it intentionally and have boundaries and fences in place. I'm a mental explorer, so I love to work through new ideas and figure out, well, do they work? Are they relevant? I love to figure out math problems and try and solve things. And sometimes it makes me look spontaneous, but in reality, I've been thinking for a long time about something and then act, and so appear to be spontaneous. I can hear my maths teacher now saying after all these years, yes, but you've got the answer, but show you're working. Even when I was back in school, I would sit back and look at the ceiling and come up with a math problem in a really weird way and then just jot the answer down. And I still love mental arithmetic and can never work out why it's called that if I have to go back and show the working to get the answer. I wonder if you noticed that my first thought that when we measured the circumference of the tree to get the diameter was to simply measure the shadow. That would have given us the diameter, but it was pouring with rain and wasn't possible today. It's also quite possible that most people don't think about how to measure a tree or go around doing it. But I've learned to be intentional, and it works in a number of different ways with people and their situations. Instead of, I wonder how so-and-so is doing, how about praying for them? Or maybe sending them a text or a card or even calling them. And years ago, long before I ever worked in the airline industry, I had a friend who worked for Delta Airlines. And he used to install the video projectors that showed the movies on the planes back then, so you can tell how long ago it was. Every time I passed the airport and would see a Delta plane go by, it would trigger, let's pray for him. I have several of these triggers for different people and situations. Another friend who works in computing, I think of every time I stand waiting for a computer to boot up and see the little Linux penguin who just seems to sit there and taunt you. By the way, that penguin has a name. He's called Tux, but that's another story. But the idea is that these triggers prompt me to think of a situation or person that otherwise I'd be just daydreaming about. And instead of doing that, or remembering a happy thought or whatever, I pray for them. So daydreaming time is actually praying time that I've somehow built into everyday life. Now, some of it's just me being me and drifting off into my own world because I'm human. So if I look a little lost, don't assume I'm praying. But Psalm 1 has something to say about this, doesn't it? In a previous video, we looked at roots getting into places they don't need to be. But trees needing an amazing amount of water that we've already discovered today, all that water is drawn up through roots that go deep into the ground, and trees anywhere near a river or lake will find it. And digging our thought roots down into good things intentionally and using that downtime and turning it into prayer time or meditation, and that's a big scary word for some of us, isn't it? That's a great thing. But the idea is to be intentional. And a final thought to try and pull this all together. In Proverbs 4:23 we find, "Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life." Your heart and mind and what you let in there indeed determines the very course of your life. And long ago I decided I was going to be intentional about what gets into my heart and mind. How about you? Are you safe when you daydream? Are you safe with your own thoughts? Are you intentional about what you think about? How about what you pray about? I hope this has been helpful. This has been Thinking Out Loud, and if you've enjoyed this video, tell your friends and click on that subscribe button and then the bell icon thingy so that you can be notified when I post a video next time. And you continue to send those messages and emails, but you can comment down below and that'll work too. Until next time, goodbye.